There's a great passage in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 12, where this lawyer basically goes up to Christ and asks him which is the greatest commandments. And the Lord responds by basically saying to this guy two things. And so, first of all, he quotes this thing called the Shema, found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, which is generally held to be the great summary of Israelite religion. And the Shema basically goes like this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. So it affirms the great primacy and singularity of the one living and true God. And the Lord sort of expounds upon that by saying, You shall love the Lord your God with all your hearts, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. But then the next thing he says is basically, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And he says, okay, on these two things hang all the law and the prophets. Now, for me, whenever I look at this particular gospel, I always feel the Lord saying to us in a certain sense, you got to learn to separate the forest from the trees, right? To not get so caught up in the details of organized religion that you forget about the primacy of love. What is the great commandment? Basically to love God and to love neighbor. Realizing that those two things aren't in competition, but one kind of feeds the other. Insofar as you put God first in all things, you learn to recognize your neighbor and know exactly what God is calling you to do to love your neighbor. And as you love your neighbor, you also come to love God, whose very presence and being is embodied in a certain sense in our brothers and sisters in Christ.